Good morning. I'm here this morning to speak with you about plagiarism. We'll be speaking about academic plagiarism and about pulpit plagiarism. Academic plagiarism is when we use each other's work in school, when we quote articles that people have written and we don't give them the proper credit for their work. We are committing plagiarism. We have many ways of committing plagiarism. Me personally, I think that we should learn about plagiarism starting with elementary school and moving on up through high school. When I was in high school, I don't know what they teach now, but when I was in high school, we didn't learn anything about plagiarism at all. We didn't know anything about it. When I got to college was when I learned, started hearing about plagiarism and what it was and how important it was not to plagiarize someone else's work. Now, academic plagiarism is if I write an essay, I use other people's work in my essay and I don't give them credit for it. I take it like it's mine. Then I've committed plagiarism. And that makes me not a trustworthy person because that is not a very ethical thing to do, to use someone else's work. Academic plagiarism, according to Irving Hexham, who wrote the article The Plague of Plagiarism, Academic Plagiarism Defined, I quote, "The practice of plagiarism is a form of academic high treason because it undermines the entire scholarly enterprise. How else do professors decide between a good and a bad student, evaluate a candidate for an academic position, or grant promotion to a fellow faculty member, if not on the basis of belief that their written work is actually their own?" And that's what we have to go on. We can't let people think that we are doing something that we're not. We can't. We're not trustworthy, and we definitely cannot be ministers if we can't be trustworthy. And as far as pulpit plagiarism, it's a little bit different, but at the same time, I feel if God has given the minister a sermon, then that's his sermon for him to preach to his congregation. And I don't feel that it should go to another congregation because it was inspired by God to him for that moment, for that particular congregation, and for him to deliver, not for someone else to deliver. Now, there are some sermons, I'm sure, that ministers have asked other ministers because they may not feel well or they may have had a really busy schedule, and they want to use their sermon because they thought it was good. Then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, it's nothing wrong with it as long as you give that minister credit for his work, for his research, for that sermon. That's the way it should be done. Pulpit ministers have a lot with them. They have a congregation following them. They have young people looking at them. And it's a lot of responsibility. And you can't get in a pulpit and use someone else's work and not give them credit because you're there, you're standing there, and you're telling your congregation that it's wrong to lie. But you're standing there lying if you're using someone else's work and you're not giving them credit for it. I'm hoping that most ministers would give credit where credit is due. According to Jonathan Bailey, plagiarism in the pulpit, when religion meets attribution, I quote, "However, religion is further complicated by the fact that different religions or different denominations of the same faith often have different opinions as well. For example, Some feel sermons are divinely inspired and that the person giving it has no right to claim any authorship, making it acceptable to reuse without attribution. Others feel that the sermon is the author's words and not for reuse. End quote. Well, I think I've already said that I feel that if God has inspired you with this sermon, that it's for you, it's for that Sunday, and it's for that congregation. I do understand that at times we have to use maybe someone else's work, but I do feel that they should be given credit for it. And I thank you for listening to me today. Thank you.